Aí, pessoal, suposto lobisomem aqui de Petrolina, ó, no caminho de Pedrinha. Tá vendo aí? Muitas pessoas dizem que é lenda, que não existe.
Instead of our usual strange and unexplained stories, today we have exclusive video footage from our very own InBetweener, Terry Haas, claiming to be of a dead werewolf. It was taken about 2 weeks ago or so by a cousin of his on the side of the road somewhere in Brazil. Now, I have my own opinions about it, but I'll save those until you've had a chance to see it as well. But before I show you the footage in full, it's important to know that Brazilians take their werewolves very seriously. Strange considering Brazil has 0 wolf populations. The closest thing they have is a maned wolf, which looks more like a big fox than a wolf. Although it's actually neither a wolf nor a fox. And kind of creepy. And while it's much bigger than a fox, topping in at about 50 to 60 pounds or 25 kilograms, it's nowhere near the size of most reported werewolves or dogmen. So if they don't have a native wolf population, where does their fear of werewolves come from? The answer? The Portuguese! We'll get into the Portuguese a little deeper later on, but for now, let's take a look at this video.
Aí, pessoal, suposto lobisomem aqui de Petrolina, ó, no caminho de Pedrinha. Tá vendo aí? Muitas pessoas dizem que é lenda, que não existe. Tô mostrando aí pra vocês aí, que é a pura verdade, ó.
É, olha as patas como é diferente, Tiago.
O bicho é muito feio. Peludo, ó. Até o pelo dele é diferente. Tá cheio de morotó. Você vê que é bicho de outro mundo, que nem os cachorros, nem os urubus, nem cachorro tá comendo a carniça dele. É porque tá fedendo, viu? E a pele dele é uma pele como se fosse de humano, a carne.
É grande.
Aí ele aí, ó.
Wow. I don't know what that is, but we'll dive a little deeper in a minute and even have what we think is a pretty good translation of what's being said. But where does this Brazilian obsession with werewolves come from? The concept of lycanthropy, or the ability to turn into a wolf, comes from Greek mythology. Legend has it that the king of Arcadia, a guy named Lycaon, was throwing shade on Zeus, mouthing off that Zeus wasn't the all-knowing being everyone said he was. To prove his point, he invites Zeus to dinner, then kills his youngest son, Nyctimus, not a great loss to him since he already had 49 more sons anyway, and serves him up to see if Zeus is omniscient enough to detect that he's eating human flesh. Zeus can tell, gets pissed, brings Nyctimus back to life, turns Lycaon into a wolf, and kills his other 49 sons. And Greek is where we get the word lycanthropy. Lykos, meaning wolf, and anthropos, meaning man. Somewhere around this time, there are some wolf worshippers that form a cult, which makes its way to Rome, where it becomes a 3-day purification festival that eventually gives us the name for the month of February. Trust me, you don't need all the details. From there, we get the story of a man named Versipelium, who turned into a wolf. As the Romans went on to conquer a vast amount of territory in modern-day Europe, the story of Versipelium turning into a wolf spreads far and wide. And just like your favorite game of Operator, the legend grows. Fast forward to the end of the 15th century and the Spanish Inquisition.
Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition!
When the Catholic Church is seemingly afraid of everything, and anything out of the ordinary will get you burned at the stake, or worse. To avoid leaving this earthly plane with a flaming bon voyage party, blame for any peculiar events is thrown around like a frisbee, with werewolves being a popular target. Coincidentally, or not, this is the same time the Portuguese, mostly Catholics, sailed off to colonize Brazil. Good excuse to get out of Dodge, bringing with them all of their European superstitions, including the fear of werewolves. And throughout the entire 300 years that the Portuguese and other Europeans were moving to Brazil, many high-profile werewolf trials were happening all over Europe, especially France. In France, just between the years 1520 and 1630, there are more than 30 1,000 recorded cases of people who either claimed to be or appeared to be werewolves. Naturally, all of these stories and legends are packed away in the collective psyche of the Europeans like luggage on the boat to South America and unpacked upon arrival with their shoes and underwear. Of course, there are already plenty of people in South America before the Portuguese get there. So when they do get there and start unpacking all of that psychological baggage, the indigenous people who've never heard of a werewolf but have their own shape-shifting folklore make sure to add their own secret sauce to the mix, giving birth to their somewhat unique versions of the werewolf legends. In Brazil, the werewolf is known as the Lobisomem, with Joanápolis, a little town with less than 20,000 people, being werewolf central, with the highest number of reported werewolf sightings in the world. Of course, different regions add their own flair to the legends. So in Brazil, that means that the werewolf legends of the north are different from the werewolf legends of the south. And make no mistake, reports of these creatures still pour in to this day. Some good. Some not so good. The werewolf community is very much alive in Brazil. And that, my friends, brings us back to Terry's video. Unfortunately, we don't have very much information about it, just that Terry's cousin took the video himself somewhere in Brazil and then sent it to Terry here in America. The clip is in broken Portuguese, which is basically a mix of Portuguese and Spanish. Did you know that Portuguese speakers are called lusophones? Huh. And Terry doesn't speak the language either. So we're going to show you the clip with the best translation we can give you. So, folks, supposed werewolves here in Petrolina on the way to Petrolina. You see how people say it's a legend that doesn't exist. I'm showing you that the pure truth is a sword. How different is the animal? It's very ugly, hairy. Even his skin is different. It's full of moroto. You can see that he's an animal from another world. Neither the vultures nor the dog are eating his carrion. It's because it smells, you know? And his skin is like human skin, the flesh. Look at him. Look. So what do you think? Actual werewolf? It certainly looks far more realistic than most of the werewolf videos currently floating around the internet. Now, Brazil also seems to have its fair share of dogman encounters. Maybe it's a dogman instead? I gotta be honest. A part of me thinks that it's just a dead dog. But I can't deny that there's something definitely odd about it. Especially this part right here. See how thick and muscular the front leg is? Now, there are certainly very muscular dog breeds out there. But for the front legs, they typically carry the muscle in the shoulders, not in the leg itself. But this leg looks really beefy. Brazil only has a couple of large mammals that even come close to this. Dogs, of course, and the maned fox that I mentioned earlier, which doesn't have black hair. But the only thing that has that kind of muscle in the front legs is the puma or the jaguar. But that certainly is not the face and snout of a puma. And these are not the teeth of a puma. I certainly don't think it's a fake, and I think it's a little small to be a dogman, but it's also not like any dog I've ever seen. I have no idea what this is. What do you think? Let us know in the comments below. Huge thanks to Terry Haas for sending us this crazy video, no matter what it is. And if you have stories or videos you would like to share with us, feel free to send us an email at inbetweentales@gmail.com. Be careful out there, and I will see you here again on the In-Between.